something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Well, good morning, beautiful people. What interesting last 24 hours it has been, hey? Got to say, with the incidents that have happened in Sydney at the Westfield Shopping Centre at Bondi Junction are horrendous, and obviously our thoughts go out to the families of the victims and those officers, or that police officer that was involved. Good to see that she did her duty and there was no hesitation. That's paramount in those sorts of events. So hats off to her training and to her. And I trust that she's being comforted and supported by the police in New South Wales and her family and friends around her too. It is no small thing to take a person's life, even if you do wear a badge and carry a gun. It can have significant ongoing effects on that person as well. So our thoughts are particularly with her today. And the families of those who've lost loved ones in that terrible tragedy in Sydney, which I think has been used as a distraction. Overnight, or in basically the same time frame, Iran has launched supposedly hundreds of drones, suicide drones they're called. Now they've launched hundreds of these drones with a 2-hour flight time to Israel. Israel knows they're coming. Israel has, put out public address announcements advising the people of what's going on, and their doomsday aircraft is in the air, apparently. Now, the doomsday aircraft that Israel owns is a 767 and capable of carrying the entire Israeli cabinet and leadership. And it has taken off, left Israel, and we're not exactly sure where it's going. Transponders have been turned off. How interesting. Why is this happening? Is this the beginning of World War III? Well, it's probably a good beginning to the beginning, if you want to look at it like that. But never, ever forget, it was Israel and America who started this. Now, we all know what's been going on in Ukraine. NATO have been desperate to try and engage Russia through Ukraine, but NATO can't do it directly. That would be them starting the war. They would look a bit bad. They've been trying to do it using proxies, and those proxies haven't been able to do it. Zelensky and others. They haven't been able to trigger the involvement of NATO in a way that NATO can say, oh, well, we're right to get involved. So what happens? Israel blows up an Iranian consulate in Syria. Now, this happened a bit over a week ago, maybe closer to, a bit over a week ago. Now, they demolished the building. Everybody inside it died, including two Iranian generals. Now, what those Iranian generals were doing there, I don't know. I don't know what Iran was doing in Syria, although they have been there helping in various different ways. What you should understand is that Syria and Iran are allies. And who is their biggest ally? Their biggest ally is Russia. So if Iran now strikes back into Israel and Israel strikes back into Iran, that will trigger a very interesting movement from Russia. And, of course, our mainstream media are blaming Iran. It's bullshit. Absolute bullshit. And the good people of Iran are going to be made to suffer, like the good people of Iraq were made to suffer when the Americans decided they wanted the oil. They didn't want Saddam Hussein, who was also in league with Muammar Gaddafi at the time, setting up an Arab League of Nations based on a financial system based on gold. They were walking away from the US dollar. You wouldn't understand. You wouldn't believe what Libya was like under Gaddafi. Free education. The people were very, 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 very happy. It was a great country. Iran is a great country. Iran is full of very, very smart people. Very, very smart people who for the most part, at least in my experience of them, are just life-loving people. But I know these crazy motherfuckers in Israel and their friends in the US are determined to create a war, a world war. They are determined to do it. The people can't, well, what can we do to stop it? But we cannot be suckered in by the mainstream media's bullshit reporting of it. Don't be suckered in by it. The mainstream media are owned, lock, stock, and barrel by BlackRock and Vanguard. Now, while some might say the white hats are now in control of BlackRock and Vanguard, and that could well be the case, this trigger, this particular action is going to bring the world to the brink. Now, those of us that have been following along and expecting this for a long time, we're not terribly concerned about it. Yes, there will be some deaths. We're sure of that. There will be some rocket fires and exchanges, and there'll probably be something horrific that happens somewhere to one side or the other. You can be guaranteed that the horrific action that will be taken won't be taken by Iran. It will be taken by Israel. And that is because of the narrative they've been building up for the last 70 years. I get so many people coming up to me and saying, "Oh, Carl, you're so brave talking about the Jews." I'm not brave. I'm just telling the truth. All right? It's just the truth. Don't believe the history you have been told. Go and do your own research. Now, I'm not saying that every Jewish person is an evil person. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that the bastards who are running the Jewish government are definitely cabal, are definitely evil, and definitely in league with the evil bastards running the USA currently, or pretending to run it. Now, is this the moment the world needs to get to, that World War III moment, that right to the precipice that we've been told that's coming? Maybe. But I'm not into giving dates, you know that. So I would not be saying this is definitely the beginning of it all. But there is going to be a shooting match. You can be guaranteed of it, because those absolutely insane bastards in Israel and America want it. Do you remember what it was like when Donald Trump was president? The world was at peace. 100% at peace. Not a blip out of Russia, not a blip out of Iran, not a blip out of anywhere. The Saudis, nothing. All while Donald Trump was in power. And then Biden gets in and the world goes to shit. If you want to go back and look at some of the programs that I did prior to Biden being elected, in inverted commas, in 2020, you'll see that we were talking about it before that election, how they were going to do this. So don't get too upset today, folks. If you're going to get upset for those folks who've lost their lives in Sydney in a Saturday afternoon shopping spree that turned into a murderous spree by one crazed, and from what I'm hearing this morning on mainstream media news, he is a 40-year-old Queensland man whose name is Joel Couchy, and he came down from Queensland to Sydney recently and has decided to go on this sort of rampage. Apparently he does have mental health issues, or did have mental health issues, and interesting that he was lined up and sent to Sydney. Going to be very keen to watch how the mainstream media find out about this bloke and what they tell us. This was all when this news sort of came through yesterday afternoon. I was watching. Yes, it's horrible. There's something that doesn't ring right with it, though. There's something, I don't know, can't put my finger on it yet, not enough information or whatever. There's something to me that doesn't ring quite right with it yet. And the fact that this bloke managed to get from Queensland to New South Wales, and he was clearly under a bit of review in Queensland, apparently. So what would trigger someone to go and do this? Why would they go and do this? I mean, the guy was absolutely a coward. From most reports that I've seen, he attacked people from behind, and most of those people were women. Of course, the first victim was a mother with a 9-month-old baby. Both attacked. The baby is in a stable condition this morning, as far as I'm aware. The mother, of course, passed away on the operating table while they were trying to save her life. Absolutely tragic. But this coward, as you can see in the video, if you haven't seen it already online, this coward is stopped a number of times by men who turn around and face him, not aggressively, but he doesn't want to go to a man who is looking at him face to face. He only wants to attack somebody who is not prepared for him, not able to defend against him, and an absolute coward of a human being. I don't think 2 shots were enough, but certainly they'd do the job. I just wanted to come on and say a little bit about what's going on and say, well, I'm not ignoring it. Yeah, Veronique, a PSYOP maybe. Yeah, there's more to it. There's a lot more to this yet. And it will probably not come out in mainstream media. We will see bits and pieces of it come out that will be explained or explained away. And they're the bits that we tend to dig on a bit. So, look, it could just be a lunatic gone mad for the day. It's possible. It's just very strange. You don't look at these things in isolation. You look at what else is going on in the world. And of course, mainstream media has been saturated with coverage of this to the detriment of coverage of anything else that's happening in the world, namely the fact that Iran are now launching drones at Israel. The fact that Israel has been threatening, beating the drum against Iran for weeks. The US has come out and said, oh, Iran, don't go and do that because we'll back Israel and we'll kill you, we'll crush you, we'll do all sorts of things. I wouldn't be too bloody sure about that, old Joe. Wouldn't be too sure about that at all. In the Middle East, Iran is one of the most technically advanced nations in the world. They're very, very smart people. Very, very smart people. And lovely people. I know quite a number of Iranians. This isn't over, but it could be the beginning of that trigger moment that we've all been waiting for. And interestingly enough, it falls within the 40 days after the warning of the eclipse. And I call it a warning because that's what a lot of people are referring to it as. And I tend to feel a little bit the same way. I'm sick and tired of calling it an eclipse. So I'm going to call it a warning. It is a very dark time in our period of life. Isn't it exciting to be here? Don't be scared. Don't be scared. There's no need to be scared. If you've done your research, if you're up with what's going on in the world, you won't be scared because this is all part of the plan. We are watching a movie. Now, I know that doesn't give you a great deal of solace, especially when there are real deaths happening in this movie. So maybe we should rephrase that. We are watching a snuff movie. As awful as that sounds. We are watching a snuff movie. Don't become a player. Just be part of the audience. And be comfortable in the knowledge that you are safe in the audience. Okay? But don't be suckered in by this. Don't be thinking, oh, the world's coming to an end. World War III is upon us. It may well be upon us, but it'll be a very brief fight if it does get to that. And I don't believe it will get to that. I believe the world will get pushed to a precipice that we are not yet at. We can see it, all right? And we are being pushed toward it, but we are not at that precipice yet. There is some distance to go. There'll be some pushing, prodding, and God knows what to get us going forward. So just be aware of that. Population reduction, Daniel, 100%, 100%. They're definitely about that. If they can kill a few more with bombs, they don't have to wait for the green dream to catch up that they've squirted into most people in the world. Glorine, you believe there's more to the attack in Sydney too? Governments are known to do shit like this. Yep, to watch human responses. Absolutely true. Port Arthur. I'll just say that. MK Ultra is real gay. Yep, 100%. And if you believe that there are people or that there aren't people who have been MK Ultra'd here in Australia, you are 100% wrong. What that gentleman looked like to me was somebody who'd been programmed. But I don't know mentally unbalanced people. Like, I've never been really close. I haven't worked in the mental health industry, although I've had a few mental people around me from time to time. I may have been one of them. But I don't know. That guy looked programmed, but a coward. He was looking for the weakest targets. He didn't want any resistance at all. And from what reports are saying this morning, he was coming from behind, the weak-gutted prick. So, yeah, not too chuffed about that. Evil abounds everywhere, Brian. You are 100% on the right. There will be more loss of life. Yeah, Sue. Hope you're feeling better too, Suze. I know you've had the family around up your way recently. You've been out doing family things. I hope you've enjoyed that and getting back out there. So yeah, I just wanted to touch base. I know that there are a lot of people who will be very, very worried about this, who believe that they're awake, who watch this show and cheer us along, and thank you for it. But they're going to get worried about this. Please don't. Please don't. We are watching a movie. Unfortunately, it will be a snuff movie. There will be real deaths in this movie. And as sad as that is, it's just the way it is. So if we can learn to accept that, put on our big boy and girl pants, understand it for the horror that it is, and try and avoid being caught up in it, that will be the big issue. Does that mean you don't go to shopping centres anymore? Does that mean places like, the kitchen supply stores that you see in shopping centres all over the nation, stores where I have spent a lot of money over the years because I like my knives? I got Uncle Len ringing me. I'll have to ring him back. Those knife shops, are they now going to be banned from shopping centres? Not because the guy bought a knife from there and used it, and I don't know that he did, but certainly anybody could walk in and buy a knife. A lot of knives, a lot of very sharp, very, very sharp knives. Are they going to be banned now? This sort of stupidity, this sort of overreaction, this sort of jumping is the kind of bullshit we expect from our government. It'll be another clamp down on control. And just wait. Now they will use this as a trigger to put scanners in big shopping centres. So anybody carrying a metal, anything, into a shopping centre will be stopped and searched. How's that going to go with your car keys? I think it could be the death of shopping centres if they start scanning everybody who wants to go into them. If all you can do is go in wearing the clothes you're wearing and come out carrying the plastic items that you bought, because you're not allowed to buy metal ones, they might hurt somebody. The beginning of the exercise of more control on us, I believe that will play a part in the scenario that follows what happened out of the Bondi Junction attack. More control on the people. They will put aside the fact that this mental defect of a human being was acting on the voices in his head, which may well be MK Ultra, but they will put all that aside and they will find a way to introduce another control measure on the public, on we the people. What an interesting distraction. Yeah. Oh, good point, Laird. Yeah, car keys, pants, belts, belt buckles, shoes. If you happen to be wearing shoes that have got those eyelets in them, what's going to go? What's going to... It's just going to be very, very, very stupid. Stupid. However, you've got a family here with the Voice of Freedom, with the Freedom Broadcasting Media Network. with Cass and her crew, with the Ainsley crew. You've got friends here, and we're all with you in this. We're holding your hand. You're holding our hand. We get support from you. You get support from us. We help each other. We look after each other. We keep an eye out for each other. We don't think about ourselves. We do what some of those selfless people did yesterday to protect others. They stood in the face of danger. They stood up to the coward. And you see what happens when you stand up to cowards? They back down. If enough people stand up to this cowardly, bloody government we have, this illegal corporation masquerading as a government, they will back down. Takes enough people to do it. Cowards, weak, disgusting human beings. Don't be a coward. Stand up to them. Tell them it's unacceptable. Tell them that if they want to keep doing the bullshit they think they have a right to do, they have to come through you. Because God knows they've got to come through me in that situation. Don't be a coward. Doesn't mean you have to be a hero. Just means stand up. If you're fit and able-bodied and you can protect women and children, you should be out there doing it, not hiding in the back room with them. Now, I understand there are elements. You want to go and look after the women too. What happens if they get into that sort of room and there's nobody there to protect them? I understand that. But I saw 3 people in the vision I've seen so far stand up to that prick, and they all ran, and he ran from each of them, each of those men. What would happen if 20 men had surrounded him and just held him until the police arrived? Because he's a coward. He wouldn't have attacked 20 men. He would have known he'd get 1, maybe. And it wouldn't have been a lethal attack because the other 19 would be on him before it could be a lethal attack. Australia used to be full of brave blokes. We like to call our sportsmen brave. They run around catching a bit of dead pig inflated with air. Very brave. Never let this evil stand up, folks. Never let this evil stand up. If you see evil happening in front of you, call it out. Stand in front of it, challenge it. Because odds are the person conducting that evil is a weak-minded coward who won't be brave enough to stand up to anybody who will stand up to them. Now, I'm not suggesting you go out and get yourself killed. There are ways of doing it without being within lethal range. And that's where 20 people gathered around that bloke yesterday would have sorted that out quick smart rather than 10,000 of them running out the doors. It's very sad. Where are the men? Where are the men in our Australian society these days? I don't know. Look, I wasn't there. Maybe I'm talking out of turn. I know how I would have acted. And that's not because I'm, brave or anything like that. It's just how I feel. And I've only been aware of it recently in the last maybe 2 or 3 years, but it's something I've done all my life. When people have been running from something, I tend to run to it. And I've never noticed it until the last few years. But if I see people screaming and running from something, I run toward whatever they're running from. And these days, I don't really run. Okay, this happened in Sydney. One could argue in Bondi, in Sydney, there aren't a lot of men. At least not in the term that I'm referring to. I'll just leave that. I don't think Bear's going on with more of that. There are no men left in this society. Well, I beg your pardon, there are. There were 3 there that I saw in vision so far, including the bloke they're calling the Bollard man. And now he was smart, that Bollard guy. He was very smart. He didn't throw the Bollard at the guy. Why give away your weapon? What he did do was stop the guy coming up. He wasn't going to come up past that guy because he knew at some point he was going to wear the bollard. Now, what would have happened if we had another bloke at the bottom end of those escalators with another bollard? Maybe that police officer wouldn't have had to have shot him. Maybe he could have got the mental health care that it sounds like he needed. Personally, I think we should save the bill. The police officer did the right job. If you're going to go armed into a public situation like that and attack people, you've relinquished your right to being dealt with civilly in our criminal justice system. You have stepped up to summary justice, immediate summary justice. And that police officer, I have no doubt, will be awarded for her bravery. But where are the rest of the men? Where are the rest of the men? Very, very poor. So I don't know. Do we need to man up again, folks? Is it man enough to be a man just to go and play rugby league or AFL? Oh, I can take a hit. Oh, I can take a mark. Well, they're not tough games anymore. You can't throw a punch in any of those anymore. If you hit somebody too hard and they wound up with a bruise, you're suspended for 3 weeks. Somebody's feelings get hurt, you get suspended for 3 weeks. It's not a bloody game, it's a pansy match. Where are the men? Where are the men? All right, protecting their women. All right, well, once you've got your women protected and they're outside the building, well, why didn't you go back? Why didn't you go back to save more people, help protect more people? Okay, I wasn't there. There's no point in trying to rejig the whole thing from my position where I sit. But these are just questions. Why didn't the men stand up? Australia used to be known for its tough blokes, hard as nails. Our Anzacs are respected around the world because they are as tough as boot nails. Now, they weren't taught that in the army. That was bred into them. What are we breeding into our kids today? Because God knows, in kindergartens all the way through school, if you've got a young man who's standing up to be a man, he will be shouted and bashed down by the administration. They don't want you to be a man. And part of the way that America has removed men from their country is using the 3 strikes you're out rule, where if you committed 3 crimes, you went to jail for life. A lot of black men committed crimes. A lot of black men had 1 chance left and blew it. And now America has streets full of fatherless children who've been brought up by God knows what, God knows how, and have a very different skew on the world. They think bravery is being able to stand over someone. They think bravery is being able to wave a gun around, hold it sideways, which is absolutely stupid. I mean, if you're stupid enough to hold a semi-automatic pistol sideways and fire it, you deserve what's going to happen to you. But anyway, there's a few other things we could talk about. They are weak men. And I don't blame individuals. I blame society. I blame the teachers. I blame the people who oppress strong personality, who oppress men being men, because, it's too manly, too blokey. If you put a dress on and did that, it'd be much better. Put a bit of eye makeup on, you'll be fine. Let's go into the library and read a bunch of stories to the kids, shall we? That'd be great. Bloody disgusted. I wouldn't expect any help from the politicians or the police. All I would expect from them, Daniel, is more control placed upon us. So, yeah, we'll get a lot of excuses, a lot of bullshit from them, but we're not going to get any real answers. Yeah. All right, folks. Just a quick one. I've uploaded a couple of videos to the other channels. If you haven't been over to VOFHQ on YouTube or to FBN Media on YouTube, there's a new video up on each of them. I did a lap of Mount Panorama yesterday in Cass's Mustang. I did say that I would do a lap. I was going to do it in the bus, but I figured I'd already given her a bit too much of a drive up a hill when I came out here to Oberon over the Blue Mountains, and she had a big day that day. So yesterday I managed to borrow Cass's car. I had to go into Bathurst to grab a couple of things anyway, and yep, we did a lap. So if you want to go and have a look at that, that's on the VOFHQ page. And on FBN Media, the FBN Media site on YouTube, I've uploaded a little interview that I did with Paul Engerman from Ainsley Bullion on Friday night here at Lake Oberon Estate. If you've been following the gold and silver market, you'll know that the price has been going up, then there's a little drop, and then but the trajectory is up. Silver is doing the same. I noticed this morning, I think silver is down to like 42. Hang on, let me just have a quick look. 43.22, the silver spot price, and the spot price for gold is 3,628. It was up over 3,700, I think, yesterday. At some point, it is dropping back, but it's not dropping back $600. It's not dropping back $1,000 an ounce. No. If you are looking to get into the gold and silver business, the market, I can't recommend Ainsley Bullion to you highly enough. They have been in the business for 50 years. They are like one of Australia's oldest bullion dealers, and you can trust them 100%. And what's better, if you mention Voice of Freedom or me, they'll give you a discount when you buy. I said to Paul in that interview, have I missed the boat yet? Go and check out that interview on FBN Media. And if you haven't already liked and subscribed to those two channels, could you please do that too? We've got to build both of those up so that we can get to a point where we can do some live streaming on particularly the FBN Media channel. We've got to get 1,000 subscribers there before we can begin to do that. And I'm not sure how many we've got at the moment. I haven't really looked. A bit over 300 or 400 maybe. So yeah, if you could like and subscribe to those channels, and this one too, if you haven't, then I doubt if you're watching this on YouTube, you're going to be able to subscribe. They usually remove the subscribe button off my None2K channel. In fact, they've done everything to suppress this channel for the last 2 years. So I don't really expect too much out of that. But head off to the other two and like and subscribe to there, and go and have a look at the lap of Bathurst and Cass's Mustang, and a great little chat with Paul Engerman from Ainsley Bullion on Friday night. How's the truck? Daniel, I think I was telling you that I was having some problems with lights. So I've had a problem with some lights. To start off with, the bus's lights are the worst lights I have ever had in any vehicle in my life. I have put new globes into them. I've put the most powerful globes available to go into those headlights, and what comes out of them is a sepia-coloured brown look that lights up a very small portion of the road on low beam. And when I say small portion of the road, I mean maybe 2 or 3 meters if I'm lucky out the front of me. And when high beam is used, it extends at about 1 meter, maybe. There might be a bit more wider light going out, but it makes no difference to me because it's not good enough to do anything, to show anything. So when we purchased the bus, I immediately said, well, I'm going to do a lot of night driving. I want good light. So we got a light bar and we got a set of spotties and put them on there. Thank you to Michael Offey, who Paul's brother, and Paul, he was involved as well in fitting those. They worked beautifully all the way down to Adelaide, where I caught up with Tim and had the hydrogen put together onto the bus and headed back. And at some point on the road back, I lost the spotlights. They stopped working for some reason. I thought a fuse, and I went and looked for fuses, couldn't find a fuse. Anyway, one thing led to another. Michael was going to have a look and attempt to fix them for me, and timing just didn't work out. I get down here, and Tony Alvarez, our host here at Lake Oberon Estate, God, he's just a marvelous man and really multi-skilled. He's decided to go and have a look at my lights for me, and has discovered that somewhere along the line, the cables shifted, moved into a place where there was a fair bit of heat, and has essentially melted the cables together, and they were shorting. So that's why I wasn't getting any light out of my big spotlights. And I don't think I would have got much more light out of the light bar for too much longer, as it too was being melted together into one solid chunk of plastic and wiring. So Tony has replaced all of that. He's cut and joined and shielded and done all sorts of magnificent things. So I can't thank Tony enough for the work he's done. We're going to go down and clean it up a bit today and tidy it up. But outside of that, absolutely stunning. There is another thing happening today, the launch of the Heart Party in Australia, formerly IMOP. Now, Michael and Barbara O'Neill are having that launch a little later on this morning in Sydney. I was going to live stream that event, and the plan is to still attempt to live stream that event. I was going to go in there until I discovered whereabouts in Sydney the event was being held. And I'm afraid I'm just too big to get anywhere close to pulling up and being able to be at the event. I also would have had to have left at about 3 o'clock this morning to drive back into Sydney over the range and everything else, to be back in there by about 9 or 10 o'clock to set up. It takes the bus a lot longer to get through there. It's only maybe a 2.5, 3 hour drive in a car, but in the bus, it's near enough to double that. So it was just going to be too difficult to try and logistically organise everything. However, Mary Jane is speaking at that event today, and so is Mick Sims. Now, Mary Jane from Freedom Financial Solutions, of course, she's going to let me use her phone. She'll tap in and I'll be able to live stream off that. And Mick is also speaking at the event. With a little bit of luck, I will be able to live stream to his channel on Insta as well, provided we can get all the details for my logins on his end. If not, the plan will be to have the launch of the Heart Party here on the Voice of Freedom channel a little later on this morning. I want to say it starts at midday. So if you're interested in seeing what's going on there with IMOP changing name to Heart, then be watching a little later on this morning. We'll be bringing that to you. If it falls over, my apologies. The technical issues are a little out of my hand. I've tried to school MJ and Mick as much as I can, but technology being what it is, and me being however many kilometres away from it, there's not too much I can do. So we will give it our best shot, and apologies if it doesn't come through quite the way that we'd hoped. I will endeavour to try and get Barbara O'Neill on the show and Michael for a talk about the Heart Party in the next week or so. I was really looking forward to catching up with them today, and I'm terribly sorry that I can't be there. So, yeah, no fun at all. Daniel, what's this? You've got a mirror ball that's not too big. It'll fit in the truck. Proper original. Mate, where do I put that? Over the bed, or, you know, in the walkway, or somewhere maybe just dangling between the driver and the passenger seat? God, a mirror ball, that could be a bit of fun. I'm glad you weren't suggesting a mirror on the roof, Daniel. Not that there'd be much point. Nobody ever comes in. All right. Love your work, folks. Have yourself a bloody great day. And if you do want to be part of the launch of the Heart Australia Party, we will have that one coming up for you a little later on today. Fingers crossed the technology plays the game. And I'll leave you with this last little thing, folks. It's all a movie. Don't get upset. Don't get anxious. It's a snuff movie. So, yes, you can be sad, but it is a movie. Trust that. Be happy with that. Smile. Move on. Love you all. Have a good day.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!